guys and gals, Joe here, the man who thinks Alien is better than Aliens, and I'm here to talk about UFC Fight Night, Aspinall versus Tybura. It was an interesting card, and with one thing really cracking me up. So, enough talk. Let's get to the fights. So in the main event of the evening, we had Tom Aspinall coming off a huge injury layoff as he fought last year, I think almost to the day last year, while Marcin Tybura has been on a pretty good little run. But the big spotlight, though, was on Tom Aspinall's comeback, as before he left, in case you forgot, he was a great finisher, great hand speed, and a very good submission game as well, and even having some pretty solid wrestling in there as well. So what happened? Well, Aspinall showed off that hand speed early. He came out guns blazing, got a really quick knockdown, flurried, and then got the ground and pound finish basically about a minute in. Yeah, pretty easy. And there you go. Tom Aspinall's back, and he's laid out in his mind his plans for the future. He said after the fight that he wants the winner of Gane and Spivak, and then after that, after he beats them, in theory, he wants Jon Jones next. And I am all on board, but I think there's one caveat and one elephant in the room we have to consider. Is Jon Jones going to stick around? So I've brought up before how I feel, and I feel personally that Jon Jones is wanting the easiest matchups with the biggest names possible so he can have the biggest reward, in theory, with having zero risk. He didn't want the Ngannou fight because he knew Ngannou was probably going to knock his head off into the next dimension. He didn't want to deal with a power puncher like that. So he took on Cyril Gane, who doesn't really have the wrestling, untested wrestling idea there. And Gane made a really stupid decision, throwing a rear straight with no setup, got taken down. Easy submission win for him. And now he wants 40-plus-year-old Stipe. Yeah, okay. And it's quite noticeable to me that Jon Jones doesn't really want to fight this new guard coming in heavyweight. He really hasn't talked too much about... He knows who Aspinall is. I think he's mentioned him once or twice. But he hasn't really talked about Pavlovich. And, granted, Aspinall did lose his last fight. It was by an injury, but he lost it, sure. So it's a little early to put this guy up right there, right now. But I'm just saying, if how he talks about and thinks about the Pavlovich matchup is any indication, he doesn't want to take that risk, because that's a major risk in his mind. Of like these new guys, they don't have the big casual name, so blah blah blah, and casual friendly name, I should say. And these guys will just put me out. These guys will just KO me. These guys are good. They're fast. It's kind of scary. So I don't know. I personally expect Jon Jones to retire after the Stipe fight. He's going to claim he's the greatest ever, despite his long, illustrious career of cheating and ducking fighters. And the UFC is going to back him up because they're going to say that he's the greatest ever because they hate GSP. Which kind of is what it is. And then I think we could probably see Aspinall and Pavlovich fighting for like the true king of the division, the new heavyweight title, around that time as well. Because the true king of the division's gone, and Ngannou left. So heavyweight has a little bit of a problem right now. So it's really hard to legitimize that title. I think right now, I think there's a problem legitimizing the heavyweight title, and I think guys like Pavlovich and Aspinall are guys who can legitimize the title. Having them fight for it, I think, instantly legitimizes that way more. But that being said, I am curious how Tom Aspinall does against this upper echelon of the division. I mean, he did Volkov, who I think is very, very, very good. Just a crazy schedule that guy's had. And he already smoked Spivak, but what about Pavlovich? All right, what about a Curtis Blades rematch even? I think a Gane matchup is kind of enticing to me as well. I do think he would just take down Gane, but it's enticing. So it's Tom Aspinall being back is very exciting, especially for a division that needs help like this. I historically hate on 205 and heavyweight, so these divisions need it.
On top of spaghetti, all covered with cheese.
We had Molly Meatball McCann take on Julija Stoliarenko, and this was a fight where Stoliarenko dropped in weight. She was put in the spot in the co-main event with a spotlight. It wasn't for her, it was for Molly. and she has a 1-5 record going into the fight. She was brought in to job against Molly Meatball. So what happened? Well, the former 1-5 fighter came out aggressive, took Molly down, had her back for a moment, then moved for an armbar, and gets the submission win in under 2 minutes. Great upset, and I'm going to be honest here. I have nothing against Molly Meatball personally. But seeing a Dana White project just go up in flames like this, it's so satisfying and hilarious to me. Absolutely hilarious. They gave her this fight to kind of help build her back up because she lost a lot of momentum after the Aaron Blanchfield fight. So they gave her a 1-5 fighter who was blatantly there to job to her and just lose. Give Molly Meatball some momentum. And it just went up in flames. All backfire. So deliciously sweet. Amazing stuff. And it seems like the grappling of Molly just isn't there. And I think they had something with Molly for a while. The people in the know knew where her ceiling was, kind of like with Patty, right? We know where Patty's ceiling is. But she was getting momentum, she was getting popularity with casual fans because she was KOing lower level fighters. And I think they thought the same thing would happen here. So I think what we should expect for future matchmaking with Molly McCann is fighters with very little grappling threat. Kind of like how they put Patty in there against guys with very little knockout threat. So for the final in-depth talk, I wanted to bring up Paul Craig at middleweight taking on Andre Muniz. Both big grapplers, but Craig is coming down from 205, joining the middleweight division. So first round, both dudes just kind of kicking early, kind of feeling out, and Muniz gets a takedown near the end of the round. Sure. Second round, though, Craig gets a takedown. He defends from the triangle choke, and he gets out, and both dudes kind of taking each other down left and right. I really wanted to see some extended grappling exchanges, and we finally got it with Craig getting Muniz down, trying for a Darce choke, but he goes for mount. He gets mount, rains down. He brings down blood and thunder. Scottish claymores coming down with just these huge elbows, and he gets the stoppage win. And Craig looked good. He looked good in this fight, and I'm glad because he's almost like this throwback fighter. He seemed this big, strong Scottish submission machine. Seems like something out of like the mid-2000s MMA for me, and it's sweet. It's so sweet and awesome. And I'm really curious how he's going to work out in this division because this division needs new blood. So I wonder if he's going to be able to use his strength consistently, like use his physical strength consistently and get guys down and be able to work his submissions from the top position over and over. If he can consistently do that, he could be a top 10 threat, I think. So something to kind of think about and consider. And now for the rest of the card, Nathaniel Wood beat Andre Fili in a back and forth fight that was just awesome. And I think Nathaniel Wood's looking really good in there. I think he's pretty solid fighter. I'm really curious where he goes in the division. Lerone Murphy got a big decision domination win in his fight. Daniel Marcos got a split decision over Davey Grant, and that was actually pretty all right. I think Davey Grant's a lot of fun. He's a friend of the channel, but Davey Grant is very fun to watch. I think so. It was a pretty entertaining fight. Johnny Parsons got a comeback win over Danny Roberts. It was pretty good. Pretty good comeback, honestly. Mahmoud Muradov beat Brian Barberena by mixing wrestling and striking for a decision win. Whenever Brian Barberena gets beaten by guys with a real game plan, I always get a little disappointed because I want to see just stupid brawls with Brian Barberena for the end of time. Honestly, I love that energy he brings to a fight. In Fightland, Caitlin Vieira beat Penny Kianzad by decision. So for the news portion, because the news has been getting some decent things, we didn't have too much big news really. I feel like maybe I'm missing something. If I am missing something, I apologize. But I couldn't remember any big news. But two things kind of stood out to me these last 2 days. I should do like this because flipped is it's a bad sign in other countries. So the first one though, Ian Heinisch. So first off, I just want to wish Ian Heinisch good luck as he's taking an indefinite break from fighting, and he's pulling out of the USADA pool due to a long series of health issues stemming from a skin disease. I didn't see the exact cause of what the skin disease was, but I know it was causing some series of issues, such as blood in the stool, forcing him to get on multiple antibiotic cycles, and so just best of luck, as health comes first in this game of violence we play. So cheers, best of luck, get better soon, man. And secondly, I had to talk about this because it blew my mind, it got me so excited. Rob Font is stepping up to replace Umar Nurmagomedov against Corey Sandhagen. That fight sounds so good. The fight's coming up quick. It's like early August, and the fight's coming up, so like 3-4 weeks time or so. They're about, that was like 2-3 weeks time, I think. But I don't care. It's probably not going to be as good as it could have been with full camps from both guys, but who cares? This is a great matchup. Sounds like an absolute banger. Corey Sandhagen is one of my favorite fighters to watch at bantamweight. I really think this guy is just one of the most fun guys to watch in the sport. And Rob Font is one of the best boxers in the sport. So I'm super pumped for this matchup. I think this matchup could be a really fun fight on the feet. And it makes covering just like, just another little fight night that much more sweeter. But that is it for me. Check out next week as I cover UFC 291 and the return of the BMF belt. In fact, I'll let you in on a little secret. Me and Carl actually shot the preview show this morning before this. So, go check that out if you haven't. We love doing those. They're so much fun. Me and him just like having fun, casually joking around and laughing while professionally breaking down fights. It's a really cool mix of us, just two friends, just having fun and laughing about fights, while also actually getting in there, getting into the meat and potatoes of things and talking about it, breaking fights down. And I think it's an interesting kind of take on fights. Personally for me, I think it's really cool. Bias, but hey, me and Carl are pretty awesome, there. So I think it's pretty dang awesome. Anyways, I'm Joe with the INC. Thank you for watching.